Hello, everyone. This is Santosh Chris interviewing Basia Ruta, an author who will be participating in the Ottawa International Food and Book Expo 2024 on April 27th and the 28th. I'd also like to thank our media partners, Omni TV Toronto, WPBS TV Watertown, Mountain Lake PBS, and Chin Radio Ottawa. Thank you so much, Basia Ruta, for joining us today.
Thanks. It's great to be here.
So just to give a context to our viewers, Basia Ruta has over 35 years experience in empowering individuals and organizations, specializing in change management, transformation, and personal growth. Basia is highly experienced in leading change projects, advising businesses, and mentoring entrepreneurs. She is a seasoned life coach, speaker, trainer with expertise in personal development and energy healing, intuitive coaching, and land healing. As an international best-selling author, certified life mastery coach, love and authenticity practitioner, Geo-Energy Healer, and DreamBuilder Coach, Basia helps individuals overcome blocks and challenges, release limiting beliefs, align with their authentic selves, and step into their dreams and new opportunities. Her wellness services also involve working with individuals and families to help them overcome or navigate chronic and terminal illness. This includes assisting those whose life journey is coming to an end, instilling calmness, serenity, peace of mind, and empowered acceptance. Basia's mission is to illuminate the path to fulfillment, purpose, and self-empowerment. She provides transformational workshops, energy healings, and coaching globally. To learn more about Basia, please visit her website onpointrc.ca. That's onpointrc.ca. And for all socials and participation in a complimentary virtual life strategy workshop or group energy healing, please visit linktr.ee/Basia Ruta, BASIARUTA. All the links will be in the description for you to visit, so be sure to do that. Thank you so much, Basia, for joining us today. And yes, as I was saying, when we were having our pre-interview, I mentioned that you were you're involved in so many healing journeys with so many people over the years in different stages of their life. So, and you're also a best-selling author. So yeah, please tell us more about that.
Oh, thank you so much, Santosh. I really am very pleased to be here. And yes, I guess if I had to describe myself, I would consider myself a true transformational change agent. And I do it both on a personal level as well as for businesses, as you mentioned. A lot of my years has been focused with entrepreneurs, businesses, governments, and really going through a lot of big change and shifts. But for the last 3 or 4 years, I've really focused a lot of attention on the more personal journey, and I've opened up a wellness division in my company. And it really helps people, I guess, just manifest, helps them to get to a place where they can manifest a life that they truly love, that's authentic, filled with abundance and authenticity. Right. Across, all the domains in life. So that would include your work domain, your time, money, freedom domain, your relationships, and your health. And as part of that, I also help people through significant life transitions. So I am a master healer, and I got to know this and acquired these skills after I went through a challenging experience myself, where I had a lot of success in my career vocationally, working in government, and I lost it all in 1 year. Oh. And it made me really face certain challenges that I didn't have to really face as hard as at that point. And it was a real blessing in disguise, because it really brought me to my energy work and healing and incorporating that in the day-to-day life. So I help people through life transitions, and some of those that can also be catastrophic.
Right.
And I help them move beyond the feeling of emptiness, separation, unworthiness, hurt, the wounds, deep wounds of the present and the past, to, garner self-empowerment and move on, let go and move on, and have a really good sense of feeling good about themselves in so doing. So, and part of the big thing in all of this is learning about the art of letting go, and also understanding our own huge powers that we have within us. And many of us are really not aware of that. And so I hope to ignite that fire and that passion in people. And so that's what I do with my wellness practice. So again, bringing people on a nice change path in their lives.
Yes,
according
change
to their
can be
values. Yeah.
yes, change can be very challenging, especially, I mean, you went through your own journey, but some people, they don't even realize they need that change, right? They might get into their comfort zone where, and they want to, like, maybe they need to challenge themselves more to become, as you said, the more authentic version of themselves. Because, yeah.
Yes, I feel that a lot of my clients fall into 4 categories, and one is that they feel dissatisfied with where things are at, and they feel that there's this longing inside of them that's calling them to do something more, but they can't express it and they don't know what it is. So they get stuck. I also deal a lot with people who actually know where they want to go, but kind of don't want to go there with a lot of fuss or hardship.
Oh,
And
yes.
something that's been a pattern that they've been experiencing in the past, right?
Right.
And then I just have a lot of people who feel like stuck. They're in paralysis. They just can't move because they're dealing with a situation, or they've dealt with one, and they're fearful of moving forward. And part of that too, through my energy work, I also work with people who are, facing their final exit. It's their time to go. And, the common theme in a lot of these changes is, as you pointed out, is a fear. And that fear can hold us back, can help us feel angry, makes us, think more in lower emotions, right? Like a victim and so forth. And there's a way of being able to release a lot of the pain at the root, and I help with that, so that you could really achieve self-empowerment, and even in the final exit to really have empowered acceptance, and to move on with grace, and in a way of really making a difference. And that's a beautiful gift that every one of us, I hope, can aspire to. And so, again, that's what I do, is I really help people with life transitions, because I've just been on this journey all my life, and it's a calling, it's a passion, and something that now, after so many years experience in so many different realms, I would, I'd like to give back and just sort of share my learnings and my insights. And so, again, that's why I'm a life coach, so a master healer, a mentor, a change agent, and so I do all of that.
That's wonderful. I'm really glad, and I'm sure so many people have been benefited by your guidance, and I'm sure it's helped you as well. Like it helped you find your authentic path to life. So that's very, very good that you're able to share some of your success with others. That's what it's all about.
Thank you.
No problem. So, Basia, what inspired you to contribute to the international best-selling book, Healing Wounds of the Past, A Guide to Authentic Living? Like, what inspired you to write that?
I think there are like 3 things, actually. One is I love the idea of writing about authentic living, because I think it's a really important concept, and I'll talk about that. So what does that mean? And then secondly, healing wounds of the past, because in my experience, and I've gone through a lot, and, working with a lot of people, what really holds us back at the core or a lot of wounds, and those wounds, we hold on to that pain and that suffering lest we forget. And sometimes we don't even know it, we just bury it because we don't want to think about it, but it keeps us stuck where we're at. And it comes to a point where, you know, when we're really off what we're meant to do, off our purpose in this life, it shows up in many different ways where we get, you know, disease, unease, and so forth. So that's what prompted me to do that, to sort of share my learnings. And so I wanted to provide something that's quite unique. I don't think you have it anywhere else. I know there's a lot of people do talk about wellness, but I really wanted to provide a framework for understanding and you know, overcoming fear to empowerment. And I provide 10 tips in the chapter, and this is a great framework to really understand how you could really achieve a permanent shift and see the results as a result in your life showing up differently.
Okay. And what do you have any like top 3 core messages you would like to share with your audience in general or from your book?
Sure. So I would say number 1, I have and hold to this belief and stand firmly that we are far more powerful and we have far more potential than any circumstance, situation, or condition. And that is predicated on the belief that we are spiritual beings having a human experience.
Very true.
Not that it's the reverse, that we're, you know, human beings having a little bit of a spiritual, you know, experience. It is the opposite. And so, so that's an important context, because when you start facing certain challenges or obstacles, I now ask myself, and have been for a good while, am I thinking of it in terms of my human story or my divine story? In my human story, you know, there's a lot of duality. It's the paradigm of fear, scarcity. You know, there's somebody who's a victim, typically a savior, and someone who, you know, causes things that happen to you. And you're wondering, how do I manage and navigate through this landmine of events that can happen my way? And, but in the other way, when you consider yourself a spiritual being, well, then you come from a paradigm of abundance and co-creation and learning and experience. And so if I think of things in my divine story, then it's easier for me to see the broader context, which may be giving rise to that fear or to that pain. And I can easily get to that divine story when I think of gratitude. So I think that that big context is really important. The second thing, too, is in line with how powerful we are, right? Because we are these divine beings having this human experience, is to understand how things actually appear in our reality. So we manifest things all the time. Most of the time, we manifest it by default. We don't even know it. It's our subconscious mind going, right? And so if we can shift that to being intentional, right? Then, and really noticing what's happening to sort of redirect our thinking, then that's the way to go. So there is a cycle for results. It begins with our thoughts. And when those thoughts happen over and over again, like in a pattern, it turns into beliefs. Those beliefs generate some emotions. And that together actually makes us act or not act in a certain way.
Okay.
And then that drives our results. So if you want to change your results, if you're feeling stuck or shackled or whatever, or a victim, then we got to go backwards and understand what's the thinking behind the beliefs and changing the beliefs. And I would say the third thing is to understanding fear, right? So you kind of probe, you always probe, and you probe further to understand, you know, what led to this. But also, it's really important, right, for the deep healing to really focus on the heart, also, and on the body, not just the mind. You know, we've been programmed a lot over the years to, you know, bury a lot of our emotions and just go with logical thinking. True. But in truth, the deep healing happens through the heart, and our heart has got this incredible compass of truth. And so when our heart is contracted, we know we're out of flow. When it is expansive, we know we are in flow. but your heart has a completely different message than from your head. And it's important to tune into that. So I provide ways of sort of dealing with that. And, closely related to that as well is when you go through all the steps, and, I provide 10 tips of, dealing with the heart and then dealing with the body. Is there anything more that at some point you may also have resistance or fear if, let's say, you've landed in this new job or this new situation, and some people may feel imposter syndrome, or there's no way I can handle it. And it's not like consciously you may think of that, it may be in your subconscious, but some of those feelings come through. And so I also talk about how to decipher resistance and how to manage that resistance by telling your ego mind, not now. That was then, this is now, I'm moving on, and how to do that. So, that in a nutshell are some of the key messages, but the 10 tips I think are really, really great because they're integrated. They just don't deal with the mind. They deal with the mind, the heart, and the body.
Mm-hmm.
And
so
also
listen to your heart.
resistance. Yeah.
In short, always listen to your heart. And then, the mind, of course, I guess the mind and the heart have to work together.
Yes,
So,
to have permanent shifts, there's harmony between the mind, not the brain, the mind, right? The mind, the heart, and the body, right? So body, spirit, and heart, body, and spirit. So that lasts for permanent shifts. So the 10 tips just go through that, but it provides I think a nice way to understand what's involved.
Okay. And also you refer to living an authentic life and healing deep wounds by raising vibrational frequency. Can you please explain a bit more about that?
Sure. So when I was talking about how I had an experience, right, and I talk about it in my book, where I had a very, very, very successful career, climbing to very, significant levels of position, and then on a politically charged topic that I was leading, I lost my appointment, and there was a lot of bullying, betrayal, and everything. And so that caused me to really do a deep dive in myself, because I really felt stuck and in paralysis. And that was not normally in my behavior that I would normally be, going forward. And so I did spend quite a bit of time looking into that. And I did do a lot of certifications in energy healing. And so I am a master healer, meaning that I've gone through quite a bit. And what I can just say is that at the core, we're all energy and we all vibrate. And probably the easiest way for me to say it is when we're contracted and we're feeling really down and really depressed, stuck, dealing with a lot of pain, a lot of wounds, we are vibrating very, very low. And when we do that, things that we tend to attract in our environment, because we have to be a vibrational match, is those things that will cause us probably even more pain and so forth, until we can release some of that and move beyond. So the higher you vibrate, then the lighter you have, the fewer energetic blocks you have, and the easier it is for you to manifest a life you truly love, because you're on a vibrational alignment with things that vibrate higher. Right. So part of the services that I provide is the life certification. My life mastery certification provides me with the ability to equip people with life mastery skills that understand how things work and the mind and the beliefs. But also I can incorporate, and I do, energy healings as well, which brings to the surface certain energetic blocks that may give rise to certain lower frequencies that, may make it more difficult to get out of your circumstance. So these things just bring it to the surface, and then I help navigate through how to release and let that go. So there's a common theme in all of this, is let go of what no longer serves you, because if you don't, it weighs you down. And when it weighs you down, life is more difficult.
It could involve your environment. Maybe you're in a toxic environment, or like sometimes, unfortunately,
Sure,
even
sure.
toxic people or friends and
Yes.
family. So you have to kind of like separate yourself from them a little bit, and then until you can raise your vibration. Would that
Well,
help?
or I guess, or sometimes, it's your belief that you must stay in a situation. And again, there's, everyone is their own authority on this, but it's really important to look back and say, to what extent are my beliefs really making me be stuck?
Ah,
So if my belief is that I will not find any other job unless I stay here, so I'm going to put up with this, well, you are, giving permission, right, to forego your interests. And at the same time, it's not just as easy to say no, right? So there's a
mhm.
process, and I have a proven method of really understanding the beliefs and then reframing it, and to really come from a life vision to
Mhm.
manifest that dream with the least amount of resistance, right? So that is, important, and, cater to your circumstance, right? So, um, you know, every situation is different, but there are some tools to help you evolve right further. And so just knowing them is helpful than not
Yeah.
knowing them. Yeah.
Definitely there can be some resistance, but I mean, it can make you stronger as well as a person. And sometimes things happen for a reason, even bad things happen. There's always a reason behind it.
I think, yeah, that's a really great point. My experience has been that every challenge that we go through has got a nugget of wisdom and a lesson to be learned.
Right.
And when we are able to acknowledge that, learn from it, and then decisively and consciously release it, it goes. Otherwise, sometimes we kind of know it's there, but we don't want to go to it, right? Because we moved on, we want to forget about it. But then a part of us is holding on to it. So we're actually holding on to it, right? And that is really maintaining an aspect in us, right, in our being, in our energetic body, that is very low vibrationally. And so it prevents us from attracting things that will be easier and flow. So again, it's just a matter of releasing. It doesn't mean that you're a doormat. It doesn't mean that, you succumb or you forget. There is a whole process around that. And also sort of, I talked about how we're spiritual beings or divine beings having a human experience. Course in Miracles, it's a book called that, and it really talks about how people behave. And usually, and sometimes people behave and they show up in a very unskilled manner, and that can hurt us, right? Like
Yeah.
depending, right, in our interactions and in that sphere. But Course in Miracles, always says, and this is again when you tune into your heart and maybe try to see some of the bigger picture, is that how people behave sometimes is either one of two things. It's either an expression of love
Mhm.
or it's a call for love.
Hmm. I like how you put that. Very interesting. Expression of love or a call. They need your like they're
Yes,
looking for love.
exactly. So
Uh,
when people really lash out or whatever, it's usually not about you, it's about them.
their own insecurities, maybe,
Yeah.
could
And
be,
so
or
it's
their
like
own
a call.
self-esteem.
Yeah, exactly. They're just so again, that's Course in Miracles. And then, those of you who are familiar with Wayne Dyer, I always liked his sayings and
Yes.
some of this for letting
Great.
go, which is I'm open to everything but attached to nothing, right? So it's like
Ah, that.
the art of letting go, but also probing through, because as we probe through, and some things we hold on to very dearly, often enough, there's probably an aspect in there that requires us to maybe consider that we contributed to part of this pain and to
Mhm.
forgive ourselves, right? It's
Right.
again, we're having this experience, and we are these luminous beings, right? Having this earthly experience. And so if you can see the light in yourself,
Yeah.
other people will notice that, and
Yes.
you can, the world gets better that way.
And also, you can also like new doors start to open up. Like as people, they say, "Oh,
Because
I
your
can invite you
vibration
there."
changes, right? You're on a different vibrational path,
Uh,
right? So forgiveness, gratitude, co-creation, all that kind of stuff is a higher vibration. Judgment, feeling bad or unworthy is lower vibration. So it's very dense, right? Dense. And so if you're feeling that denseness, you can imagine your body and your organs and your molecules are also harnessing that. And so you get blocks, and, that can, if untreated and it can grow and it can create, some dis-ease, right? So, and when you have, like, typically when an event happens, vibrationally, right, you have that, but there's an emotional component to it, and emotions, when they release, they like to move. I like to call it energy in motion. So you just have to let those emotions flow through you, even though it may be a little bit uncomfortable, but it's part of the process of letting it go, to not just bury it again, because it's going to show up. Because whatever we don't release, then the way the universal laws work on an energetic level is that different things are going to show up until we can actually express and understand the lesson that we were meant to harness through this experience, without judgment and without, holding us to blame, right? So that is, yeah.
Wonderful. And so how does the healing, in your chapter, Healing Wounds of the Past, in your chapter, it addresses trauma, like, so from a life coach energy healing perspective, what are the signs, like, of like somebody's going through, like, has some trauma, childhood trauma maybe, and what are the remedies that you would recommend?
Yeah, well, very much, the, trauma is like a real deep wound, and it's something that shatters you, often brings in paralysis. You can't move. You feel very depressed. It's just hard to move forward, right? And it's very, very painful. And you can tell if you're traumatized a little bit, because when you try to do something, there's this reaction. It could bring anxiety, fear at the highest level, because trauma usually means you're not safe. There's something terribly wrong. And, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we're wired to make sure that we're safe and secure. So when something like that happens, we're wondering, like, what happened? And you try to get some comprehension to that. So, and it shows up in many ways. And usually this trauma impacts not just yourself, but people you are with, because it changes your behavior. Right. And so how I help is to really understand, help to understand as a life coach, to be a really good listener to what has happened, and also to help guide, individuals on some of the next steps to try to understand what may be at the source. And if they are willing, I'll also combine some energy healing, which will give me some additional insights on remove some blocks. So I will release some of that. And then to help navigate some of those emotions, right, that comes through, to sort of bring in alignment, not only the energy, but also your mind, right, and your body. So that's what I do. And I do follow the 10 steps, but I do have also a program that I offer, which really deals with significant life transitions, and it goes through the hero's journey, where part of it is like, and most of us will face one of these in our lifetime, right?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Right? Like, it's just something that actually stops you. Like, you actually have to say goodbye to something, right? Like, there's something that has dramatically shifted in you. And so, it's a matter of, leaning into it, doing the forgiveness, the atonement, and moving on and gathering the lessons. But there is a process to go through. And, I myself have gone through it. My experience was very, very tough. I think anyone, vocationally would say, yes, was right up there and quite public. And here I am, and happy to share my experience as well. But many people go through some shock. And, it also could happen, right? Trauma when you're dealing with events of the world, war.
Right. Yeah.
And it's the belief systems, right, that you have, and feeling helpless maybe to help. And again, another common aspect is the underlying fear or the root of that in the beliefs. So I help to navigate through those to sort of get to a point where, okay, maybe reframing some of the beliefs and, healing and letting go to be able to move on and to release that which no longer serves you, right? So
that's wonderful. And so also in your chapter, you share some tips for navigating and overcoming fear. Can you explain how these tips can be a game changer for like people struggling with this issue, like with fear and stuff, like how to overcome things?
Well, I would say that I think it's like my chapter provides a recipe. Actually, the book Healing Wounds of the Past is a really quick read and a fast read. I'm chapter 1, so I've got like the framework in there. So of understanding and facing fear to empowerment, which I believe is the number one issue to be able to create lasting shifts, right? If you can understand and face fear to empowerment with the techniques and the tools, well, then, you can evolve and grow, right? Because that's part of what we do. We're meant to evolve, right? To learn and to move on and let go of what no longer serves us. So, but in the book, you have different examples of what people have gone through. So I think we're about 18 to 20 authors about, significant life events that were traumatic
Yes.
and gave rise to some very deep wounds. And there's, a lot of modalities out there to help you. And so I do mention, the 10 tips, which is, understand your place on earth, that you have a lot of power. Yep. Understand that the heart, you have to listen to the divine message of the heart. Don't let the mind speak for the heart. Very hard to get there when you're not used to it. Tune into your body as well for any residual energy that may be in there, and release that. And also make sure you're not carrying low energy or trauma or pain of others. Sometimes people may take that on, right? But, you can't heal other people's pain. You can heal your pain.
That's it. You can't, you can't fight other people's battles.
Yeah, it's got to be native to you, right?
Yes, yeah.
And so
maybe you can inspire them. Like you're inspiring a lot of people how you're.
Exactly. It doesn't mean you can't be a helping hand and helpful, but for that pain to go, it's got to be learned, right? It's part of someone else's journey. Okay. So that's important. And then also when you're ready to pivot and evolve, just know that resistance is going to kick in, because a lot of people do a lot of great things and then they're ready to move on, step into, a new version of themselves. Everything is great. And then all of a sudden they start feeling this doubt. Oh my God, am I doing the right thing? Who am I to think that I'm, worthy, or I deserve this? And they drop it. And they're right. It's like they're right at the tipping point and they drop it and they revert back to this safer place, even though they may be unhappy, but they know it. Wow. So part of the journey is, it's not fear to go forward when you don't know the answers. It's actually being courageous and brave. And if you're coming from your vision, and your vision is attuned to your values and it makes your heart expansive and it's really on point, then you are in flow. Like, so then, the journey, it's all about the journey. So you'll learn from it. But when you're in flow, things will, you'll learn and you'll grow, but it will be, it's to your calling. It's to what authentically you want to do. And so things work out, right? Like, so you just learn. Yeah.
That's so wonderfully put. Thank you so much for sharing that. And also, can you give like an example? Okay, how our readers can apply any one of these tips in your book to their everyday situations? So, like, Yeah.
Yes.
Do you have any examples, for example?
So I think the first thing I would always say is, um, if you're reading this book, it tells me that you're inspired to learn more about the topic of wellness and
Yes.
healing wounds. And so again, the framework does provide you context for how you can really be in your driver's seat to affect change. And so again, what I had mentioned earlier is, our thoughts really, if if we want to know what we're thinking, look at the results that we're achieving.
Ah, I like that.
So 5% maybe of our thinking is conscious, 95% is our subconscious. And our subconscious is made up of all these beliefs that we don't even know. It's like on automatic pilot. And so if we're feeling like, how come this is happening? It's because there's some other thing going on that's countering our results. And so this is when we're starting to feel heavy or contracted, or we're not unhappy. We start probing into the why, and we're starting to look at different angles. And so that shows you the framework. I also suggest that if you want to get to a deeper understanding of what may be in your blocks, to also consider maybe energy healings. And if you also want to have some assistance, right? Because some people can do this on their own. It's hard to do it on your own, but it's obviously, possible. But if you want to go deeper and you want to go faster, many people are inspired to take some energy healings, right, as well, or have some, periodically, or, a few at a time. And also to have like a life coach, right? Because the life coach helps you transition, but also you also uncover some of your blind spots.
Right.
Helps you uncover some of the patterns that you may not be able to see yourself because you're too much in it. And also helps you navigate through resistance, right? And keeps, it's like what I do is I know where my clients want to go. And that is like, I see them in that role, and I help them come from that role when they're navigating through their situation. So that's what I would say.
Oh,
And
that's
so there's that combination.
That's wonderful. And who do you think would benefit most from reading your this book, and any reasons why? Like, who do you think really needs to right now just pick up this book right away?
Anyone who's feeling stuck, shackled, unworthy, no way out, lost, unfulfilled. We're not meant to feel this way on this earth. We're meant to be really aligned to our purpose. We each have unique gifts. And imagine when we're sort of wired, that our day-to-day embraces what we're really good at, what we're passionate about. We not only bring upon these gifts to others, but we help raise the vibration around those close to us, but in so doing, also our communities and the world, and it makes everybody a better place. And so it really is about tuning in so you could actually ignite that dream, the fire, the passion, the purpose, the authentic living. And, you don't have to compromise. You don't have to put up. And if, you're very much in a mindset of scarcity, I can't do this and I can't do that, we are really, there's a lot of abundance available to us. And so we have a choice. We either operate in a paradigm of scarcity, which is, a lot of fear and judgment and not much to go around. So you have to be careful. Or you operate with a belief system that's embedded in a paradigm of abundance, in which case you manifest what you want, and you come from there. And part of my offerings in the coaching that I do is I make people aware of universal laws and how things work and how results manifest in your life.
Yeah, it's like unfortunately, we do live in a society where like people kind of almost dread getting up and going to work. Unfortunately, but they like you said, they may be living in that scarcity, thinking, oh, I have bills to pay, so I have to do this job, I have to do this, I have to get, So I think anybody can truly appreciate this book, in my opinion. Anybody with person who's not like
Yes.
living to their full potential or their dream life.
Well, and there is a process, right? There is a
Yes.
process to go through,
Yes.
and you start with visioning. So you just don't drop a job and say, okay, I'm going to just think that I'm going to get a better job. There's work required to manifesting what you want, and there is a process involved, and there is a structure. So, but it really is helpful to know that, we're far greater, as I mentioned, we have far more potential than any circumstance, situation, or condition. And so if we're really unhappy, is it like, it's probably the worst thing is that you're reasonably happy, but not so unhappy that you don't want to change, right? So you kind of just stay with the status quo. But then you're also missing out on a whole bunch of stuff maybe that you would love to do and make a difference. It would make you feel more fulfilled. So often people who get to a point where they want to make some significant shifts, it's usually as a result of some traumatic event, right? It's sort of, you feel so low, you feel so stuck, you feel so paralyzed, you feel so helpless. That you're willing to try something different, right? To pull you out. Yes. So, our soul, our spirit talks to us from a longing and a discontent. So the longing is that pull to something better, and the discontent is this, your heart telling you, boy, what you have is really not your mojo, right?
Yes.
And so,
well said.
And so when it gets bad enough, then it's kind of easier to say, okay, I'm going to try something new. So it's hard when things are, just kind of steady. Not many people make that shift because it's harder. And I think, the other word of wisdom I would say is that your history doesn't mean it's your destiny. So just because it's happened to you in the past, it's like that, lest we forget, I got to hold on to it so I don't forget. No, I mean, the past is the past. Let it go, right?
Yeah, live in the moment,
It doesn't dictate your future unless you so think it and wish it, right? In a very odd way, because we manifest our thoughts. So it's important to look at that. So, the big tip in all of this is really to notice what you're thinking, what you're noticing. And I would say a really easy tip is if you feel for the most part that you're contracted, then consider that you're not in flow. And if you think, if you're, expansive and feeling like lots of energy, then, it's a good sign that you are in flow.
That's
and
incredible.
And if you're not in flow, then there's some steps to try to release that which doesn't serve you, so you could be lighter and get there faster, as opposed to holding on to a pain.
That's wonderful. That's a very good, like anybody watching this can feel this right away. Like, are they contracted or are they so they can see where they're at, basically.
Yeah.
Right away.
Yeah.
And Basia, what do you think is the biggest misconception that people have about self-improvement?
That it's hard work. It does take a lot of time, but also that, how do I control things better so that I can achieve things in my life? I think that's the biggest misconception, is about control. When you try to control situations outside of you so that you kind of are okay. And so it's, a lot of people say, I only have this amount of money in the bank. Well, that's because this happened to me and that happened to me and that happened to me, right? Or, if only my company would have done better and it didn't. Oh, that's because of this policy or that policy or this, right? So, but we say the because. So we think that it's conditions outside of us that are causing our results. But actually, our results, right, happen from our thinking.
That is so true. The mindset, right? It's
if you change your thinking and your beliefs, you change your results. If you want to know what you're thinking, and again, a lot of it is subconscious, so you're not even aware, then be curious about it and delve into it And there's a lot of ways of being able to do that. So you can really be shining your light and already living a life so much better.
That's wonderful. That's really great. Yeah, don't blame it on, some people blame it on the government or the politicians, or everything starts from you, from within. Like, your mindset, changing that is the most important. Like, because you can't really change the external as much, but you can change the internal. Right.
Yeah.
I guess
Well, the external is a reflection of your internal. It's not like you can't change the external. You can by changing the internal.
That's very
so, right. So basically, we tend to think that that's the sort of the paradigm of scarcity, that things happen to us. So what do I do to protect myself? So if I can control things as much as possible, I'm better prepared for what is happening to me. And a lot of people think that way. In the paradigm of abundance and, and love is that there's an abundance of opportunity. There's no lack. So the only thing that is of lack would be if we have any limiting beliefs in what we can achieve.
Right. That's fascinating.
So if you change your beliefs and your thinking, you will change your results and the emotions, right? Because it'll drive your actions. Or inaction. And sometimes, you may feel like you're in paralysis. Paralysis is usually that there's a part of you that wants to move forward and a part of you that's scared or doesn't want to.
So you get stuck. Analysis paralysis.
Exactly. Analysis paralysis, and things just go by. And so I help to navigate through that and to overcome that. And that's also part of the, facing and understanding fear to empowerment.
Okay. And so, Basia, how has all this writing changed you? Like, has it? I'm sure it's made you a better person, like, and more in your path, I'm assuming, like. Yes.
Yeah, so thank you for that. Yes, thank you for this question. It's a great question. It's helped me because I really feel like I'm on purpose. I feel that at this stage in my life and in my career that it's time for me to really give back and to help, businesses and individuals navigate through some real hardships, including chronic illness and others, and, through healings, and to just share some of the wisdom that I have so that everyone can then share their own and make a difference and make for a better world. So for me, just being able to articulate these 10 steps on what I consider to be probably the most difficult thing to understand, and to not have it fragmented, like we're going to just deal with fear on this aspect and then not really see the whole big picture, to linking that to manifesting, right? A life that you want to live. Is important. And it goes the same way for, which I was happy to do. And it changed me because, sort of putting my thoughts out there and, to help people, to provide this tool in a way that's accessible and relevant, but even for those people who are transitioning, and facing death. And it's remarkable, the light you can see in people and the grace and the empowerment that can happen, even though your time has come. I mean, that's between, God, universe, and the individual. But to do so with such empowered acceptance. And so it just brings, warmth to my heart that I can help out in any way. And so if my message, can reach more people, you're not alone. There are tools and mechanisms and, ways to help people. And the energetic healings, they're done virtually, and I have global clients. And so, you don't have to be one-on-one, but there's a lot of ability from a wellness perspective to bring people along. And for me, to, it's sort of my declaration that here is what I do. And so I really am, happy to share that with everyone.
I can just see from your face, it's just glowing with so much positivity, and I love it. And especially, particularly death, as you said, can be a very, very difficult journey. I mean, we all have to go through that, but you can actually guide them to have a peaceful, passing on. So maybe, and of course, you seem very spiritual. That always helps, right? To know that there is a life beyond this. It's
Well,
very,
when
very,
you
yeah,
do energetic healings or
yeah.
energy healings, one thing that I've learned is that you realize that there is just really one consciousness. And we hear
Mm,
that word in a lot of literature, but when you do energy healings, it's just, you just feel it, you know it, you see it, you
mm.
experience it. So, I do have a gift in this area where I can help people transition to their next evolution, I
Dimension.
guess.
Yes, yes. I've done a bit of like the astral projection, like having like out of body experiences. My goodness, there's so much love on the other side. It's like and then like you feel that love, and then you come back, and you're wondering, wow, like I'm worried about the smallest, tiniest things, when in fact, like, love is always around us, and this whole place feels like some kind of school that I'm learning,
Yeah.
and wow, that's really great that you're doing both spiritual and physical.
Yeah.
You're
Well,
balancing both really well.
and like the Course in Miracles says, right? Like
Yes.
people behave in two ways, either an expression of love or a call for love. But in
Uh,
the end, that's why the heart is so important, right? It's the healing is really through the unconditional love, because we are luminous beings having this,
yes.
earthly experience. And yes, great to have the grace and the faith, and that's all great and it's wonderful. So yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to, like, the thing is, unless you do it, you achieve your things in this life, you don't want to keep reincarnating and trying to fix your karma. I mean, that's a whole other topic, but yeah, that's
Well, some of
yeah.
the, trauma of the soul,
Uh,
yeah, I tend to think of this like, when you have a baby, an infant, and there's some big noise or different things, and you could see how they react, like,
mm,
wholeheartedly. And in some ways, it's like a huge experience. They're not expressing it. It's not good or bad. It's just that they feel anger, or they feel fear, or they feel it's just emotions. And so
right.
as we live our life, we're molded by some community beliefs, not just our own. And somehow, we just hold on to some of these emotions, and we don't provide a doorway for them to release. And, when we die, we have, and we move on. Some of the stuff that stays with us, it will just, it's something that, is an experience that still hasn't quite been resolved. So there you go. So it's nice to be able to let that go, and then to move on, and just be lighter, and, and just, with empowered acceptance, go through to the next phase.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you so much, Basia, for joining us today. And so how can people reach you? Like, can you mention your website or your email or whatever
Sure.
way?
My
Yeah.
website, I have onpointrc.ca, so it's my business one. I'm also soon to have my wellness website, the division of that, up and running. And so that will be also all available on my Linktree. And I think, as it was mentioned here, it's on Linktree / Basia Ruta, Basia Ruta. And the links to both are there. And my service offerings, again, energy healing, life coaching. I also provide some courses or some training on just universal laws and, mental capacities to help, move through some, with ease, some abilities to create a life you love, and
Okay.
also some, significant life transitions. So all of that is available, through those connections.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
And I offer a discovery call as well, which is complimentary. And I forgot to mention, you mentioned it too. I do have, like I mentioned, my clients usually experience, 4 things. So again, they feel stuck, or they don't know where they're going, or they know where they're going, but there's a lot of hardship and they don't want to go through there, and they don't know how to get out of that, or
right.
they're just facing some significant life transitions. And a good step to start learning some of these keys to unlock the power that rests within you is through my life visioning workshop. And there are keys to, sort of getting clarity on your vision, your dream, or what you want, and then also befriending fear. So the next one is on April 30th, and you could sign up for that on the Linktree access.
Wonderful. And anything else you want to add so our viewers can learn from, or anything you want to say, share?
Sure. If you want to just direct message me, just you can email me at basia.ruta@onpointrc.ca. And it's a real privilege to be here, and I do hope that the book and my chapter in particular shines some light on everyone who reads it. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you also for joining us today. And it has been an absolute honor and a privilege to interview Basia Ruta, who will be, as I mentioned, an author that will be participating in the Ottawa International Food and Book Expo 2024, which will be on April 27th and the 28th. Please visit ottawabookexpo.ca for more information on that. And I'd once again like to thank our media partners, Omni TV Toronto, WPBS TV Watertown, Mountain Lake PBS, and Chin Radio Ottawa. Thanks again, Basia, and really looking forward to meeting you in person. And if anybody's watching this and you're inspired to take action, come to the expo and meet this wonderful author and maybe get an autographed book from her, and maybe even get a quick session. I mean, if you have time,
Sure. That's
that'd
great.
be really nice.
Okay, would love to do a discovery session with some people. Yes, for sure. Thank you.